Peugeot's 205T achieved legendary status in the 1980s, but none of Peugeot's hot hatches that followed have been so revered. However, the French firm aims to change all this with the Peugeot 208, a car that it believes once again justifiably wears the legendary GT moniker. With the likes of Ford's Fiesta ST and Volkswagen's Polo GTI to compete with, it needs to be good. Turbocharged engine fitted with a familiar 1.6-litre turbocharged THP engine, the standard 208 GT produces 197 bhp at 5,800 revolutions per minute and 275 Nm at only 1,700 revolutions per minute. Complete with a 6-speed manual gearbox, this package allows the Peugeot to sprint from 0 miles per hour in 6.8 seconds. While it won't stop accelerating until it hits 142 miles per hour on the road. It's smooth, punchy and perfectly matched to the chassis ability. Introduced in late 2014, the limited edition GT 30th boasts 205 bhp and 300 Nm of torque from its 1.6-litre engine, offering 143 miles per hour and a dash from 0 miles per hour in 6.5 seconds. Pleasingly, the limited edition 30th became part of the standard range after the 2015 facelift when it became known as the GT by Peugeot Sport. GT Extras. Talking of which, the 208 GT boasts a number of changes over the regular models, not least in the chassis department. The front track is 10 mm wider while the rear gains 20 mm in total, while the upgraded 302 mm front brakes do an excellent job of stopping the performance version of the 208 from its considerably higher speed. Further modifications distinguish the 30th edition, with 10 mm lower suspension, wider tracks than the standard GT and 18-inch alloy wheels. Don't expect wild tail-out handling like the Peugeot GTIs of old though, as the entirely neutral standard 208 GT is laden with grip front and rear, making it entirely accessible for anyone slipping behind the wheel. It's a different story with the GT 30th and GT by Peugeot Sport, the front end benefiting from more grip thanks to its Tucson differential, and plenty of rear end oversteer if you lift off the throttle mid-corner. It looks more muscular too, the addition of a subtle body kit, rear spoiler and integrated wheelage extensions helping differentiate it from others in the range. The trapezoidal tailpipes help finish it off, as do the 17-inch alloy wheels, matte black 18s on the 30th and subtle T badges on the rear pillar, harking back to the 205. Overall it's a grown-up and subtle-looking hot hatch, though the bright red chin under the fussy grille design does detract from the ambience somewhat, although this arrangement was modified as part of the 2015 facelift. Inside, the 208 cabin retains the small steering wheel and high-level instruments, but features higher quality and more luxurious materials throughout, including sports seats finished in leather and anti-slip cloth. Standard equipment is generous, and option price is reasonable. A comfortable hot hatchback. The 208 GT may have been designed to excite the driver, but the firm is keen to stress it's a car optimized for road use rather than circuit work. It's certainly not a hardcore hot hatch in the mold of some of its more focused rivals, but in reality is all the better for it. Supple suspension, a comfortable cabin and a refined engine makes for an impressive package. Again, the additional firmness of the GT 30th and GT by Peugeot Sport is noticeable, but overall it remains a refined and comfortable package. Read on for the full Peugeot 208 GT review to find out just why its rivals should sit up and take note. Performance, another hot hatch, another 1.6-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. It's fair to say the Peugeot 208 GT sticks to a tried and tested formula, but that doesn't mean the delivery is an identikit of its rivals. engine. In fact, Peugeot 208 performance sits somewhere between the tech-laden Renault Sport Clio and the brutal Ford Fiesta Street, completing the benchmark 0.62 miles per hour sprint in 6.8 seconds and finishing off at 142 miles per hour. The familiar 1.6-litre engine produces 197 bhp and 275 Newton-meters, the latter figure available from only 1,700 revolutions per minute. This makes for flexible railroad performance, and from the off the GT feels eager and responsive with little in the way of turbo lag. The result is that no matter which one of the 6 gears you're in, overtaking is both quick and safe. Unlike its Ford and Renault rivals, the Peugeot is all natural in the sound department too, using no such trickery as sound symposers to channel the engine note into the cabin, making do with the traditional sports exhaust instead. 30th power plant with 205 bhp. There's that number again, and 300 Newton-meters of torque, again from just 1,700 revolutions per minute. The 30th anniversary edition is marginally powerful than the standard GT, resulting in a 143 miles per hour top speed and a sprint from standstill to 62 miles per hour in 6.5 seconds. The same engine is shared with the larger 308 GT, while the 6-speed manual box is borrowed from the RCZR Coupe. Handling: the original 205 GT was well known for its lively, and sometimes lethal, handling traits, but times have changed and the Peugeot 208 GT is a much more widely accessible product than its legendary ancestor. Gone is the throttle adjustment and rear-end movement on the limit in the standard GT, although it is present on the 30th edition, replaced by resolutely neutral behavior throughout your chosen maneuver. Enthusiasts will lament this lack of adjustability, but in reality it makes the Peugeot a far more rounded package, and one that flatters every driver that gets behind the wheel, regardless of ability. There's little in the way of understeer, and pitching the 208 GT hard into a bend simply results in it tracking faithfully round without too much drama. With its torsion differential reducing wheel spin on the inside wheel of a corner, traction is much improved, particularly in slower corners, allowing you to get back on the power sooner. Initially there's a degree of body roll, especially over the front axle, but it lasts only momentarily as the car's 1,160 kilograms curb weight 90 kilograms lighter than the 207 GT transfers with a direction change. It's just enough to inform you of what's happening at the front end though, and the 208 GT always feels composed, controlled and agile through corners. Underneath, the suspension is 20% stiffer and the track 10mm wider at the front and 20mm wider at the rear compared to a regular 208. It's wider again by 10mm on the 30th, as well as being 10mm lower overall. Thankfully the changes haven't compromised comfort though, and despite the car's considerable ability, it's not just a fast electric pony. Found in other 208s, the small steering wheel is also carried over to the GT and makes more sense here. However, despite the increased weighting across the rack, the response around the dead ahead is slightly numb before it quickly sharpens up, meaning many will have to wind off their initial lock when attacking a corner. It's a small fly in an otherwise near-perfect ointment for the Peugeot 208 GT. Equipment: there's only one standard equipment level to choose from, but the good news is that the car comes with plenty of kit. Standard Peugeot 208 GT equipment outside the hot hatch is differentiated from lesser models by a new LED headlight signature, said to evoke a big cat's eye, along with color-coded wheel arch extensions. Beneath the arches are a set of 17-inch carbon technical grey alloy wheels hiding a set of upgraded 302mm disc brakes up front. The nose hasn't escaped special attention either, and the GT boasts a unique grille with a checkered flag design with chrome and piano black inserts, while the rear is finished off with a spoiler and trapezoidal tailpipe design. Those lucky enough to spend time inside the 208 will appreciate the comfortable sports seats with their deep side bolsters in black leather and anti-slip cloth center inserts. Leather covers the flat-bottomed steering wheel and knob too, along with a red double-stitched covering on the dashboard fascia. The vibrant color appears throughout, outlining the instruments, badges, various trim pieces, the bottom of the front grille and even the center of the seatbelts. On top of this, the Peugeot 208 is fitted out with dual zone climate control, 6 airbags, and a USB input for the DAB radio. Additionally, the 100 limited to 30th editions of Peugeot Sport front bucket seats trimmed in Alcantara faux suede, satin, 18-inch matte black alloy wheels and black detailing instead of the standard TIS chrome finishing around the bodywork. Optional Peugeot 208 accessories. One thing you will have to and should from a resale point of view spend extra money on is sat-nav. Despite the car coming with a 7-inch touchscreen as standard, and the automated mapping featuring on the kit list of the lesser 208 Feline model, it remains an extra on this sporting flagship. Other options are less crucial to your enjoyment of the car, but we'd also recommend the Kilo panoramic glass roof, which brightens up the cabin and makes the compact hatch feel far larger inside. We could probably live without the optional heated seats, center armrest and cornering assist fog lights, but the park assist is likely to be a welcome addition for most buyers. Personalization features high on the firm's list of priorities as well. The GT offered with a range of decals for the roof, bonnet and lower grille section, while there are numerous different colors and finishes for the 17-inch alloy wheels. Despite the high levels of equipment and technology on board, there's no start button for the Peugeot, the hatch being fired into life with a traditional key instead. Unlike the Renault Sport Clio, the 208 does without a sport button to sharpen the throttle or adjust the ESP input, and nor does it have a racer-style telemetry system to reveal past performance. Limited to just 100 examples, the options on the GT30 are restricted to an all-white paint scheme instead of the standard red, or the Coupe Franche two-tone textured black and gloss red combination. Comfort. Hot hatches aren't always known for their ride quality and long electability, many being set up to excite and engage on track rather than rutted railroad road, but the Peugeot 208 is different. During the product brief, the firm's engineers were keen to stress it is optimized for the road, not the circuit, and despite the stiffer suspension, Peugeot 208 comfort levels are exemplary. Across broken surfaces, the 208 soaks up the imperfections without fuss, the fluid and measured responses of its dampers making for a particularly comfortable ride. Even harsh ridges fail to send anything more than a murmur into a cabin that remains remarkably free of the expected bangs and the crashes for a car of this type. Whether you're traveling at speed or through a traffic-calm town, it is hushed and quiet. In fact, refinement is so high, no destination should be off-limits to this car regardless of how far away it is. Practicality. Peugeot 208 Practicality is on a par with its main rivals. It's actually 7 centimeters shorter than the 270 that came before it, but that change in stature hasn't been achieved at the expense of cabin or luggage space. In fact, the boot is 11 litres larger than that of the Renault Sport Clio at 311 litres in total, and the Peugeot fits in a full-size alloy spare wheel as well. It's a 3-door only, so while the larger front opening does a decent job at providing access to the rear, it's not ideal for families. Once there though, children will fit without problem, unlike anyone approaching 6 foot whose headroom will be cut short by the sloping roofline. Small rear side windows restrict rear passengers' views out too, making the panoramic glass roof a worthwhile option. Safety. How it performs in a crash may not be the top of everyone's priority list, but clearly Peugeot 208 safety was an important consideration for the manufacturer. In the Euro NCAP tests, the regular 208 achieved 5 stars. The car's standard fit driver set speed limiter coming in for special note. Reliability. The 1.6-litre THP engine is used elsewhere in the range, so Peugeot 208 GT reliability is likely to be strong enough to assuage any fears you may have. With the firm pushing its quality controls harder than before, we'd expect the car's trim and interior materials to remain in rude health. We have heard of sat-nav issues with other 208s though, which is worth bearing in mind if you add this as an option to the